Hello, this is the Midday News. Thanks for joining us. A former ward councillor is going after the Popondetta town mayor seat in Northern Province with the aim to overhaul the systems of governance and administration he believes has hampered the delivery of service over the years. Speaking from experience, Ali Pukari, who was once ward councillor of Popondetta Urban LLG, believes there is a lack of coordination and systematic breakdown between the town mayor's office and the LLG office, thus impacting service delivery in the process. Pukari paid his nomination fee Tuesday this week. On his agenda, he's working with mothers, the youth, and addressing law and order issues. Prime Minister James Marape has commended Minister for Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs, Soroy Ioe, for his leadership in overseeing the resumption of local level government elections across Papua New Guinea after a prolonged delay since 2017. Marape expressed his gratitude to the Minister for articulating clear reform measures aimed at strengthening grassroots governance and ensuring that the third tier of government is not only functional, but truly representative of the people it serves. He acknowledged the essential role of LLGs in national development, noting that nearly 80% of the country's population live and work at the ward and village levels. Prime Minister Marape also extended his appreciation to the Electoral Commissioner and the Electoral Commission for their work in preparing and delivering this critical democratic exercise. Looking ahead, the Prime Minister appealed to all Papua New Guineans to exercise their democratic rights peacefully and responsibly. Minister for Justice and Attorney General Pilar Niningi has commended the United States government for awarding the billion kina contract to build a fuel shortage facility in Port Moresby. The 1.6 billion kina fuel depot is one of the outcomes of the Defense Cooperation Agreement signed and entered in 2023. Minister Niningi reaffirms the continued bilateral partnership and friendship between the two countries since 2023 because PNG is now seeing benefits of this agreement. He said PNG could be a third world country, but when foreign companies invest in Papua New Guinea, they must adhere to rules and regulations of the country. The Universal Church PNG held a marriage celebration this week, where 7 couples publicly declared their love and commitment before God and a congregation of many witnesses, both in Port Moresby and Arawa.
The Universal Church PNG this week celebrated the sacrament of marriage. The ceremony was a celebration of love and testament of the transformative power of faith shared between each of the 7 couples. Before joining the church, some of the couples faced conflict in their marriages, including constant arguments, lack of peace, and respect.
Very unexpected day for me. With this, wherein it's been 19 years, we both have been married. Finally, in this church, we came to this marriage ceremony, and our marriage was blessed.
Bishop Jonathan Pine preached on the importance of keeping marriage vows made at the altar.
For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. Ecclesiastes, it says, it talks about the importance of keeping our house.
He emphasized on the importance of keeping promises.
When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it. For God has no pleasure in vows of fools. We must fear God. And all of you have already been together, living together, have a family together, have children together. But today, you are going to make the most important vow of your life. Not just before the witness here present, before men, but above all, you're going to make this vow before God. Amen? You're going to make this vow before God. And what God has put together, let no man separate. A marriage is for life.
The same celebration was also held for couples in Arawa in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Universal Church Papua New Guinea is inviting married couples to attend a weekly seminar. It runs each Thursday to hear more about strengthening the marriage and family. Rita Kana, TV1 News.
In news overseas, one of the biggest wildcards of this election will be the impact of the group Muslim vote. It is the grassroots movement aiming to unseat 2 cabinet ministers over the government's handling of the war in Gaza. It would be an enormous task to topple Jason Clare and Tony Burke from their multicultural electorates, but the movement has already caused headaches for Labour, forcing it to divert time and resources into defending usually safe territories.
At this supermarket in the heart of Lakemba, there's plenty of work to be done, but always time for a chat.
Every body of every community comes here, so they talk about the politics.
Abab Hussain will be voting in Australia for the first time.
My person is Tony. Tony is number 1.
Tony Burke is the local Member of Parliament, but the Cabinet Minister is facing a new challenge at this election. His seat of Watson is being targeted by the Muslim vote, a grassroots movement trying to topple Labor MPs over the party's response to the war in Gaza.
No problem. It's an overseas problem.
That doesn't matter for us.
But some here say the issue will change the way they vote.
Doesn't matter Muslim or not Muslim, we're not going to vote for Liberal or Labor.
I've always been a Labor supporter. Very disappointed that they aren't taking the humane attitude to things.
The frustration, I've never seen it on this level. The anger, I've never seen it on this level.
The Muslim vote is backing independent candidate Dr Ziad Basuni in his bid to claim the Home Affairs Minister's seat. Today, both were out greeting early voters in the electorate.
We have seen the Honourable Tony Burke here nearly every day. This is no longer a safe seat.
I've never taken the seat for granted. This election, I'm handling it the same way I always have.
Education Minister Jason Clare also told the ABC he's taking no vote for granted, as the Muslim vote eyes his seat of Blaxland. The group is endorsing independent candidate Ahmed Oaf in his bid to claim it. Some argue there have been some mixed messages coming from the Muslim vote movement. On one hand, it's trying to oust Labor MPs in favour of independence because it's unhappy with the government's response to Gaza. But in the seat of Parramatta, it's encouraging people to back the Liberals over Labor, despite being more critical of the coalition's position on the issue.
This is certainly not a vote for the Liberal Party, so we definitely want to keep Dutton out.
But a Liberal victory in this marginal seat would increase the chance of Peter Dutton getting.
Small countries in the wider Canberra region are urging candidates not to forget them. Thousands of people live close to the capital across the border in New South Wales. Despite their proximity to the ACT, they claim they do not enjoy the same access to services or political attention.
Little more than half an hour from Canberra, Valia Palmer's chooks have plenty of room to roam. The relative isolation might seem attractive, but in this part of the world, a scrambled internet connection is common.
We are, I suppose, in this community lucky because we're high on a hill.
Lately, a local fox has been eating into the profit margins, and the gate is shut to some possible solutions.
Having more internet would allow us to do things with camera surveillance, even sound surveillance, all sorts of things that would have a tremendous impact.
It's not a unique issue. In nearby Womboyne, both the NBN and 5G are hard to come by.
Many of the residents here have defaulted to using Starlink now, which is a reasonable service, but it does come with much higher costs than any NBN service.
Before the campaign, Labor promised it would finish the NBN and provide fibre-to-the-node connections to 94% of the fixed-line network. The local Labor MP wants regional areas included.
We deserve access to high-speed connectivity for business, for school, to stay connected.
Snaking westward out of Canberra through the electorate of Riverina is one of the most notorious roads in New South Wales. Thousands of drivers use the Barton Highway every day, but deaths on the road are all too common, including as recently as the Easter long weekend.
Unfortunately, the sad reality is that if you live in this region, you end up knowing someone that's either been injured or killed on that road.
The first stage of a duplication opened last year, but the second of 5 stages remains in the planning phase. Stephanie Helm is anxious to keep the project from withering on the vine.
It's kind of become a bit of a multi-generational battle for my family. My dad was campaigning for it in the 90s and here I am still campaigning for it, so I hope my daughter's not doing the same thing when she's my age.
And the man most likely to be her MP after the election was once the minister responsible.
The duplication of the Barton Highway is happening. It's a rolling process. It's like the Bruce Highway in Queensland, working towards it stretch by stretch.
Back in Eden Monero, voters in the border town of Queanbeyan can tell they're not in Canberra, especially when they're unwell.
So I think Liberal will be cutting the health system around, and I just can't bear it being cut more than it is.
Sometimes we do miss out on some of the services. A great example is mental health services here. We have to go to Goulburn.
A reminder, not all parts of the capital region were created equal.
In sports, New South Wales women have won State of Origin opener over Queensland Maroons yesterday at the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. The Blues won 32 points to 12 to draw the first blood. They will now have home ground advantage for the following 2 matches at Allegiant Stadium in Sydney on May 15th, before they head to Newcastle less than a fortnight later for a potential decider at McDonald Zones Stadium on May 28th. The New South Wales Blues women produced an ambush on Queensland Maroons women at home and claimed a convincing win to open the 2025 Women's State of Origin Series. The Blues crossed the line first in the opening quarter of the game through centre Jessica Sedrins and set the platform for their game.
Maroons defence, they're just holding on, you think, here, Queensland. It's with Southwell. Now running back on the angle and almost getting to the line is Clydesdale out the back to Davis. Now Johnson. Johnson finds Apps. Here goes Kessie. Gives it to Sanchez! First try, New South Wales!
The Maroons returned a favour shortly after through Sienna Lopifo, after the inexperienced Blues fullback Abby Chetz failed to contain the towering kick from the Maroons halfback Ali Brigginshaw.
Hand up early, you're happy with what you've seen from both halves to start the game?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we haven't had much opportunity yet, but yeah.
Oh, hold on, John, because Queensland are in. Sienna Lopifo scores a try off a kick, and Queensland hits straight back.
A try each to Isabella Kelly and Jamie Freshard extended the lead, but the Maroons cut the deficit down to 14-12 following a classic try to a debutant centre, Rory Owen. However, this would be their last try of the match as the Blues dominated the remainder of the game.
A few committee meetings happening out in back players. Aiken, lovely pass and steaming onto it and scoring a try on debut is Rory Owen. Queensland do hit back with a beauty.
The Blues winger Jamie Freshard crossed the line for a double before the front rower Ellie Johnston scored on the upright and extended the margin. The Blues fullback Abid Church put the icing on the cake with a brilliant try to close the game 32 points to 12 in favour of the Blues. The Blues will play for the series in Game 2, scheduled on May 15th in Sydney, and the Maroons, on the other hand, will play to keep the series alive. And that ends our Midday News update. Do join us at 6 tonight for the main bulletin. Bye.